In the ruthless structural mechanics of the real world, where morality is often merely a coat of paint applied over grinding machines of interest and ambition, there exists a supreme principle that has endured since humans first grasped stones to fight for territory. Transparency is a death sentence, and secrecy is the only shield of power. We are born and raised in a culture that idolizes sharing. From our earliest lessons to modern soft skills training, society relentlessly injects into our minds the belief that honesty is the best policy, that exposing one's guts is the ultimate expression of sincerity and trust. However, if one views the world through the lens of Machiavelli, or shines a light into the darkest corners of human behavioral psychology, one sees that absolute openness is no different from a general walking onto the battlefield, stripping off his armor, discarding his sword, and screaming his strategic coordinates to the enemy. That is not bravery. That is strategic suicide. Human intention is the soul of action. While an intention remains within the mind, it is a form of potential energy, invisible, formless, unassailable, and unstoppable. But the moment that intention escapes the tongue, it materializes into matter. It becomes a fixed target. Once you say, "I will take this market share," "I will bring him down," or "I plan to change tactics," you have hand-painted a target on your own chest. Your opponents, those hiding in the shadows of silence, need only squint to take aim. You have handed them the two most precious gifts in any conflict: time to prepare and data to analyze. Visualize your mind and your plans as a fortified citadel. Every unnecessary word, every boast about future intent, is a brick removed from that fortress wall. Sun Tzu, the great master of Eastern strategy, distilled a cold truth: all warfare is based on deception. Hence, when we are able to attack, we must seem unable. When using our forces, we must seem inactive. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we are far away. Why is this way of deception, the art of falsehood and concealment, placed at the pinnacle above military might or logistics? Because in the struggle for survival, the greatest advantage lies not in brute strength, but in the element of surprise. A plan that has been revealed is like an arrow flying through the air at the speed of a snail. The opponent need only take a gentle step to the side to avoid it, or more ruthlessly, catch the arrow and hurl it back into your own heart. However, the tragedy of the human condition lies here. Our biological instinct rebels against silence. Nature has hardwired into the human brain a craving for validation. When we incubate a grand scheme, the brain releases dopamine, the hormone of anticipation and pleasure. We feel a terrible internal pressure to share that plan with others. We want to see admiration in their eyes, hear their applause, or simply soothe our own anxiety by seeking consensus. But this is the mindset of a naive child wandering into a forest of predators. Robert Greene, in his study of the laws of power, pointed out a cruel paradox. We often mistakenly believe that sincerity will disarm our enemies, that if we open our hearts, they will open theirs. The reality is far more brutal. When you share your intentions, you do not receive trust, you receive envy. Humans possess a dormant nature of envy, a monster sleeping deep in the subconscious. When you speak of your impending success, you inadvertently wake that monster in the listener. They may smile and congratulate you, but in their minds, scripts are forming to stop you, to ensure you do not surpass them. This sabotage is rarely direct violence. It manifests as subtle slander, invisible barriers, deliberate delays, or the leaking of your plans to a third-party enemy. Therefore, Learning to suppress the ego that wants to boast, that wants to be recognized, is not merely a communication technique. It is an ironclad discipline required to preserve your political life and career. Concealing intentions, therefore, requires you to go against natural instinct to become a cognitively invisible entity. You must become an iceberg. What the world sees of you should only be the 10% on the surface, the harmless actions, the mundane daily habits, the innocuous small talk. But the 90% below, the massive weight of calculation, strategy, ambition, and ruthlessness, must remain deep in the black water, where no light can penetrate. This separation between the public self and the strategic self creates an absolute armor. When an opponent cannot read you, they fall into a state of panic. Man's greatest fear is not death, but uncertainty. We fear the dark because we do not know what lurks within it. If you are an open book, the opponent knows exactly which page to tear out. But if you are an unsolvable cipher, the opponent must expend energy guessing. They will ask themselves, what is he plotting? Does he know something I don't? Why is he so calm? This confusion disrupts their decision-making ability. They will begin to imagine threats that do not exist. They will defend where it is unnecessary. And most importantly, they will reveal openings. In the tension of facing a faceless enemy, they will make mistakes. And your task is simply to wait for that mistake to appear, then deliver the finishing blow. But silence is not just about keeping your mouth shut. In high-level manipulation, absolute silence can sometimes attract unwanted attention. A vacuum of information sucks in curiosity like a black hole. If you are too mysterious, people will start digging and scrutinizing. Therefore, concealing intentions at a masterful level is not about leaving a blank page, but writing a false yet compelling story upon it. You must create a smokescreen. You must throw the crowd bones, false intentions, fake goals, for them to gnaw on. Let them believe you are harmless, a person pursuing mediocre goals, or even a fool. There is no camouflage more perfect than feigned stupidity. Intelligence and sharpness are always viewed as threats. When you appear sharp, everyone around you raises their shields. But when you appear slow, naive, or mechanically compliant with rules, they lower their guard. The arrogance of the opponent, the belief that they are smarter than you, that they have you figured out, is their grave. While they are laughing at your incompetence, they are unaware that you are silently tightening the noose around their neck. Thus, the art of concealing intentions is not merely a defensive tactic. It is the foundation of all effective offense. It transforms you from potential prey into an invisible hunter. It allows you to move pieces on the chessboard without anyone realizing it until the game is already won. In the subsequent movements of this journey, we will not stop at the theory of silence, but will descend into the techniques of constructing false realities, manipulating opponent perception, and turning ambiguity into a weapon of psychological destruction, causing opponents to voluntarily walk into the trap you have set, believing it was their own idea. The world does not reward the naively honest. It crowns those who know how to wear a mask and smile in the shadows. In this theater of silence and shadow, the most critical variable, the one that distinguishes the master from the amateur, is timing. The ancient Greeks had two concepts of time: chronos, the sequential, ticking time of the clock, and kairos, the opportune moment, the critical juncture where action alters destiny. The master of concealment lives entirely within kairos. To the uninitiated observer, the strategist appears to be doing nothing. They are still, passive, perhaps even lazy. But this stillness is the coiled tension of the viper. It is not an absence of action. It is the accumulation of potential energy. Patience is a weapon that forces the opponent to exhaust themselves. Consider the dynamic of the false lull. Humans are biologically incapable of maintaining a state of high alert indefinitely. The nervous system demands homeostasis. It craves the release of tension. By deliberately ceasing hostilities, by withdrawing into a passive state, or by offering minor, meaningless concessions, you induce this biological relaxation in your opponent. You allow them to feel safe. You allow them to celebrate a premature victory. It is in this moment of relaxation, when the adrenaline fades and the guard is lowered, that they are most vulnerable. A strike delivered from a state of apparent peace is infinitely more devastating than one delivered in the heat of battle. The shock factor alone acts as a force multiplier, paralyzing their cognitive functions and rendering counterattack impossible. The transition from concealment to execution must be instantaneous. There can be no loading phase, no warning growl. One moment, you are the harmless rock. The next, you are the landslide. But to reach that moment of perfect execution, one must often navigate the treacherous waters of hierarchy and social politics. In any organization, be it a corporation, a political party, or a social circle, power is rarely distributed according to the organizational chart. There exists a shadow hierarchy, a network of influence based on favors, blackmail, and secret alliances. To conceal your ascent, you must navigate this shadow world while presenting a face of total compliance to the official world. This is the art of managing up. You must never outshine the master. Even if you are more competent, more intelligent, and more visionary than your superior, you must hide these qualities like shameful secrets. To reveal them is to trigger the master's insecurity, and an insecure master will destroy you long before you have the power to destroy him. Instead, you must attribute your brilliance to their guidance. You must make your ideas appear as merely the logistical implementation of their vague wisdom. By feeding their ego, you blind them. They will promote you, give you access, and protect you, believing you are a loyal extension of themselves, never suspecting that you are merely climbing their back to reach the throne. This navigation often requires the use of proxies. A hidden intention cannot always be executed by your own hand without leaving a fingerprint. Therefore, you must learn to use others as tools, unwitting or otherwise. The cat's paw strategy involves manipulating a third party to attack your enemy. By whispering grievances into the ear of a volatile colleague, by leaking incriminating information to a zealous auditor, or by subtly encouraging a rival to overreach, you instigate conflict without being a participant. You stand on the sidelines, perhaps even offering sympathy to the victim of the chaos you orchestrated. This not only keeps your hands clean, but also positions you as the peacemaker, the stable center in a chaotic world, further consolidating your power. The proxy takes the risk. You take the reward. Yet manipulating people requires more than just whispering. It requires a deep understanding of inception, the art of planting ideas. The most powerful idea is not the one you force upon someone, but the one they believe they discovered themselves. To achieve this, you must bypass the ego's defense mechanisms, which naturally reject external commands. You must use the Socratic method of guided questioning. Instead of stating, "Your plan will fail," you ask, "How does this plan account for X?" You lead them down the garden path of logic until they stumble upon the pitfall themselves. When they realize the error, they own the realization. They correct course, doing exactly what you wanted them to do, without feeling coerced. Similarly, you can use reverse psychology on the rebellious. By arguing against your own interests, by feigning reluctance to accept the very thing you desire, you trigger their instinct to push back. They will fight to give you what you want, believing they are winning a contest of wills. Furthermore, the environment of influence is heavily dictated by social proof and the herd mentality. Humans are pack animals. We look to others to define reality. If you want to conceal a radical move, cloak it in the guise of conformity. Frame your revolutionary intent as industry standard or best practice. If you want to isolate an enemy, do not attack them directly. Isolate them socially. Create an atmosphere where associating with them is seen as uncool or risky. You do not need to fire a single shot. The herd will instinctively distance themselves from the sick member. The isolation will break their spirit more effectively than any direct confrontation. By manipulating the social climate, you turn the environment itself into a weapon. However, amidst all this manipulation, one must be wary of the leakage of the soul. No matter how disciplined the mind, the body often rebels. We previously discussed the poker face, but one must also master the baseline of one's entire physical existence. You must study your own tics. Do you tap your foot when impatient? Do you look away when lying? Do you speak faster when excited? You must ruthlessly audit your own behavior. But more importantly, you must learn to read these leaks in others. While you are concealing, you must be decoding. Observe the micro-expressions, the flash of contempt that lasts 1/25th of a second before the smile is plastered on. Watch the feet, often the most honest part of the body, pointing towards the exit when a person wants to leave, or freezing when a person feels threatened. By reading the invisible script of the body, you gain an asymmetric information advantage. You know when they are lying, while they only know what you want them to know. This leads us to the concept of strategic paranoia. In a world of masks, trust is a liability. You must operate on the assumption that everyone has a hidden agenda, because, like you, they are human, and humans are driven by self-interest. This does not mean you must live in fear. Rather, you must live in a state of high-definition awareness. You must constantly verify the loyalty of those around you. You must test the structural integrity of your alliances. A master of concealment never leans their full weight on a support they have not personally tested. This vigilance is the tax you pay for power. Ultimately, the philosophy of concealing intentions culminates in a state of formlessness. Bruce Lee advised to be water, and this is the strategic ideal. If you have a rigid shape, you can be identified, targeted, and broken. If you are formless, you cannot be grasped. You adapt to the container of the situation. With the pious, you are moral. With the greedy, you are pragmatic. With the intellectual, you are philosophical. You become a mirror, reflecting what the other person wants to see. This fluidity makes it impossible for enemies to pin you down. They strike at you, but they hit only water, which parts and then crashes down to drown them. By having no fixed identity, no public dogma, and no visible ego, you become invincible. Your intentions are safe because they are nowhere and everywhere at once. This state of formlessness, of being liquid in a world of solids, allows for the ultimate strategic maneuver, the pivot. In traditional warfare or business, changing direction is often seen as a sign of weakness or indecision. It signals that the original plan has failed. However, for the master of concealed intentions, the pivot is not a reaction to failure, but a pre-calculated evolution. Because you never committed publicly to a specific path, You are never bound by the sunk cost fallacy or the fear of public embarrassment. You can shift from aggression to diplomacy, from expansion to consolidation in the blink of an eye. This agility is terrifying to an opponent who is weighed down by their public declarations and rigid dogmas. They are like a heavy battleship trying to turn in a narrow canal, while you are a swarm of drones, omnipresent and instantly reconfigurable. To maintain this fluidity, one must master the art of ambiguity in language. Words are the primary tools of revelation, but they can also be the primary tools of obfuscation. The skilled operator speaks in a code that sounds clear, but is legally and logically slippery. Use weasel words, phrases that allow for plausible deniability. Instead of saying, "I will do this," say, "It is our intention to explore the possibility of this." Instead of "He is fired," use, "We are restructuring for optimal efficiency." This corporate lexicon serves a dual purpose. It signals competence to the herd, who speak the same jargon, while committing you to absolutely nothing. If plans change, you can claim you were misinterpreted. If a promise is broken, you can point to the nuance of your original phrasing. Language becomes a fog bank in which you can maneuver safely, while others, demanding clarity, crash against the rocks of literalism. Within this fog, you must also learn to manage the narrative of victimhood. In the modern era, victimhood carries a strange, paradoxical power. The perceived victim often garners sympathy, resources, and moral immunity. If an opponent attacks you, do not always counterattack immediately with strength. Sometimes, it is strategically superior to fall down and bleed. Play the victim. Accuse them of bullying, of unfairness, of punching down. Let the social immune system, HR departments, public opinion, the fair play instinct of the crowd attack your aggressor for you. This is judo of the soul. You use their strength against them. By appearing weak, you trigger their destruction. While they are busy defending themselves against accusations of cruelty, you quietly heal, regroup, and prepare the knife for when their back is turned. This technique requires the suppression of the male ego, which screams to fight back. But the reward is a victory that leaves your hands clean and your reputation enhanced. But what if the opponent is not aggressive? What if they are passive, entrenched, and simply blocking your path? Here, we deploy the strategy of the void. Do not engage them. Do not acknowledge them. Do not fight them. Simply work around them as if they do not exist. Create parallel structures. If a manager blocks your project, build a skunkworks team and do it anyway, presenting the finished success before they can stop it. If a social gatekeeper excludes you, create a new, more exciting circle that drains their relevance. By denying them the conflict they seek to validate their own importance, you starve them of oxygen. You render them obsolete. There is no greater insult and no greater weapon than being ignored. You conceal your intention to destroy them by simply acting as if they are already dead. As your power grows through these methods, you will inevitably attract parasites, sycophants, flatterers, and hangers-on who seek to feed off your success. These people are dangerous not because they are strong, but because they are close. They are leaks in your hull. To manage them, you must employ the golden handcuffs. Bind them to you with debts of gratitude, but never give them enough power to hurt you. Give them titles, but not authority. Give them money, but not equity. Keep them dependent. A dependent ally is a loyal ally. You must constantly calibrate the distance, close enough to be useful, far enough to be safe. And if a parasite becomes too greedy, you must sever the limb without hesitation. There can be no sentimentality in the maintenance of the structure. The gardener prunes the dead leaves to save the tree. The strategist purges the dead weight to save the ambition. This ruthless pragmatism extends to the management of reputation. Reputation is not reality. It is the shadow cast by reality. You can control the shadow without changing the object. Invest heavily in reputation laundering. If your methods are dark, your public face must be blindingly bright. Engage in conspicuous acts of charity. Mentor young talent, who will become your loyal foot soldiers. Speak loudly about ethics and values. This is not hypocrisy. It is the purchase of insurance. When rumors of your ruthlessness inevitably surface, the public will point to your charity and say, "Impossible. He is a saint." Your good deeds become the alibi for your dark necessities. The brighter the light you shine in front of you, the deeper the shadow behind you, where you can work unseen. Furthermore, you must understand the psychology of time horizons. The amateur thinks in days or weeks. The master thinks in decades. Concealing an intention often means laying a foundation that will not bear fruit for years. You might support a rival's promotion today because you know they will be incompetent in that role and will crash the department in 2 years, allowing you to swoop in as the savior. You might lose a battle today to win the war 10 years from now. This long game is the ultimate concealment because no one connects the dots over such a vast distance. By the time the trap snaps shut, the bait was taken so long ago that the victim has forgotten it existed. This requires a godlike patience, a detachment from the desire for immediate gratification that few possess. Finally, we must touch upon the spirituality of silence. Beyond strategy, beyond gain and loss, there is a profound metaphysical power in keeping one's own counsel. In a noisy world, the silent one becomes a magnet. People project their own fantasies, fears, and desires onto the blank canvas of your silence. You become larger than life. You become a myth, and myths are indestructible. By withdrawing your true self from the marketplace of interaction, you preserve your soul from commodification. You retain a core of authenticity that remains untouched by the lies you must tell to survive. This inner citadel is the source of your strength. It is where you retreat to recharge, to plan, to remember who you are beneath the masks. Without this inner sanctum, the weight of the masks would crush you. With it, you can wear 1,000 faces and yet remain, fundamentally, yourself, unseen, unknown, and unconquered. The digital age has introduced a new, terrifying dimension to the art of concealment, the panopticon. We live in a world of digital surveillance, where every email, every click, and every geolocation ping creates a permanent record. The classic Machiavellian whisper in a corridor is now recorded by a smart speaker. The secret meeting is betrayed by metadata. To operate in this environment, one must adopt the discipline of digital hygiene as a matter of survival, not preference. The master of concealment assumes that nothing electronic is private. Every digital device is a potential informant. Therefore, the most sensitive intentions must never be digitized. They must exist only in the analog world, in face-to-face conversations in parks, away from microphones, in handwritten notes that are burned immediately after reading, and, most securely, in the unrecorded vault of the mind. However, since one cannot opt out of the digital world entirely, one must learn to use digital noise as camouflage. Just as a submarine hides in the thermal layers of the ocean, you must hide in the ocean of data. Do not strive for digital invisibility, which is suspicious. Strive for digital banality. Flood your social media with innocuous, boring content. Post pictures of your breakfast. Share generic motivational quotes. Complain about the weather. Create a digital avatar that is so profoundly average that no algorithm flags it and no human analyst bothers to read it twice. This gray man strategy makes you invisible in plain sight. While the world analyzes your boring posts, you are free to conduct your real business in the shadows of the encrypted and the offline. In the corporate arena, this translates to the politics of the paper trail. In a bureaucracy, truth is not what happened. Truth is what is documented. If you intend to destroy a rival, you do not attack them in a meeting. You build a paper trail of their incompetence over months. You send emails just to clarify their confusing instructions, thereby documenting their confusion. You file reports noting concerns about project timelines, thereby predicting their failure. You create a dossier of evidence that appears objective and cumulative. When the moment of execution comes, you do not need to argue. You simply place the file on the boss's desk. The documents speak for you. They conceal your malicious intent behind the facade of diligent record-keeping. You are not an assassin. You are just a conscientious employee concerned about quality control. Conversely, you must master the art of plausible deniability for yourself. Never put a direct order to do something unethical in writing. Use the telephone game. Give the order verbally to a trusted lieutenant, who gives it to a subordinate, who implies it to the foot soldier. By the time the action is taken, the chain of command is so diluted and verbal that it cannot be traced back to you. If caught, you can express shock and outrage at the rogue actions of lower-level employees. You sacrifice the pawn to save the king. This structure of insulation allows you to reap the benefits of dirty work without bearing the stain of it. This brings us to the weaponization of HR. Human resources is often viewed as a benign, administrative function. To the Machiavellian, it is the secret police. HR controls the hiring, the firing, and the disciplinary narratives. Building a secret alliance with key HR personnel is one of the most effective ways to conceal intentions and exert power. If you have HR in your pocket, you can bury complaints against you. You can access the personnel files of your rivals to find dirt. You can structure layoffs to target your enemies under the guise of corporate restructuring. HR provides the legal and procedural camouflage for political purges. It turns personal vendettas into policy enforcement. But the corporate battlefield is not just about attacking. It is about resource hoarding. Information is currency, but so is budget, headcount, and access. To conceal your true power, you must hoard resources without appearing greedy. Frame your accumulation of budget as risk mitigation. Frame your hoarding of talent as building a center of excellence. When you control the resources, you control the flow of the game. You can starve a rival's project by delaying their funding, or you can accelerate your own secret initiatives. By controlling the logistics, you make your will manifest in the physical reality of the organization. Others may have titles, but if you have the budget, you are the king. In this environment, meeting dynamics become a stage for high theater. The meeting is where intentions are signaled and battles are fought. To conceal your intent, practice the art of the late arrival and the early departure. Arriving slightly late, but with a valid high-status excuse, signals that your time is more valuable than theirs. Leaving early signals that you have more important places to be. It destabilizes the room. During the meeting, use the Socratic silence we discussed earlier. Let others speak. Let them burn their energy arguing. You wait until the end, summarize the chaos, and offer a synthesis that happens to align perfectly with your hidden agenda. By speaking last, you have the final word. You frame the conclusion. The person who frames the conclusion controls the memory of the meeting. Furthermore, you must understand the ecology of blame. In any complex system, things will go wrong. Projects fail. Money is lost. The art of concealment is the art of ensuring the blame never lands on you. You must always have a scapegoat ready. This could be an external vendor, who can be fired, a market condition, which is uncontrollable, or a specific isolated employee, the sacrificial lamb. You must position yourself, not as the captain of the Titanic, but as the guy pointing out the iceberg. If you are always the one warning of danger, even if you caused it, you are seen as prescient, not culpable. This Teflon quality, where nothing bad sticks to you, is essential for long-term survival. Yet, there is a danger in being too slick, too perfect. The uncanny valley of behavior applies to humans too. If you are too polished, people sense a predator. You must manufacture flaws. Admit to small, harmless vices. Maybe you drink too much coffee. Maybe you are bad with technology. Maybe you have a messy desk. These humanizing flaws make you relatable. They act as a camouflage for your perfection. People stop looking for the big lie because they are distracted by the small, visible imperfection. A predator that looks like a clumsy bear is far more dangerous than one that looks like a sleek tiger. Finally, we must consider the end game. What is the ultimate goal of all this concealment? It is not just survival. It is sovereignty. The ability to act according to one's own will, unconstrained by the demands of others. By concealing your intentions, you buy yourself the space to be free. In a world that wants to categorize you, use you, and discard you, secrecy is the declaration of independence. It is the refusal to be a cog in someone else's machine. It is the determination to be the architect of your own fate. As we move forward, we will explore how to maintain this sovereignty when the walls are closing in, how to execute the exit strategy when the game turns against you, and how to disappear completely when the time comes to leave the stage. No fortress, no matter how well concealed or fortified, is immune to the chaotic nature of reality. There will come a time when the veil slips, when an enemy stumbles upon the truth, or when sheer bad luck exposes your hand. This is the moment of crisis. For the amateur, this is the end. Panic sets in, frantic denials are issued, and the house of cards collapses. For the master of concealment, however, a crisis is merely a sudden shift in the terrain that requires a new form of camouflage, the fog of chaos. When your intentions are partially exposed, do not strive for clarity. Strive for absolute confusion. Flood the zone with contradictory information. If a rumor leaks that you are planning a hostile takeover, immediately leak 3 other rumors: that you are retiring, that you are bankrupt, and that you are planning a merger with a different company. Create a cacophony of noise so deafening that the single note of truth is drowned out. In this chaos, the observer loses confidence in what they saw. They begin to doubt their own intelligence. "I thought I knew what he was doing," they will say, "but now nothing makes sense." This paralysis buys you the most precious commodity in a crisis: time. Time to shred the evidence, time to move the assets, time to reposition the narrative. In the heat of this crisis, you must employ the limited hangout technique used by intelligence agencies. When you cannot deny everything, admit to a small, embarrassing, but ultimately non-fatal part of the truth. Confess to a minor sin to hide the major crime. Yes, it is true. I was in secret talks with that company, but only to explore a licensing deal, not a takeover. By giving the public a confession, you satisfy their bloodlust. They feel they have caught you. They feel justice has been served. They stop digging. You have sacrificed a finger to save the arm. The minor scandal becomes the shield for the major conspiracy. Simultaneously, you must activate your sleeper assets. Throughout your career of concealment, you should have been cultivating favors and alliances that you never called upon. Now is the time. Call in the debts. Have a friendly journalist write a sympathetic piece. Have a board member intervene on your behalf. Have a regulator look the other way. These assets are your reserve parachute. The fact that you have never used them before makes their intervention seem natural and organic rather than coordinated. They are the invisible safety net that catches you when you fall. But what if the tide cannot be turned? What if the exposure is total and the enemy is closing in? This brings us to the art of the exit. In the philosophy of the concealed intention, there is no honor in going down with the ship. That is a romantic notion for poets, not strategists. The goal is to survive to fight another day. The exit must be executed with the same ruthlessness as the entry. This is the scorched earth withdrawal. If you must leave a position, ensure that you leave nothing of value for the enemy to capture. Delete the data, poach the best talent, poison the relationships. Leave behind a hollow shell that looks like a prize, but is actually a burden. As Sun Tzu advised, when you surround an army, leave an outlet free. When you are the one surrounded, find that outlet and vanish through it like smoke. This vanishing act requires the dissolution of ego. You must be willing to walk away from the title, the office, and the public recognition. You must be willing to be underestimated, even pitied. Let them think they defeated you. Let them gloat. Their gloating blinds them to the fact that you have escaped with your core resources intact. While they are celebrating over an empty fortress, you are already building a new one in a different land, invisible once again. The ability to detach from one's current identity is the ultimate freedom. It means you are not defined by your position, but by your capacity to generate power from nothing. After the exit, you enter the chrysalis phase. This is a period of deep silence and reconstruction. You disappear from the public eye. You become a ghost. In this silence, you analyze the failure. You refine your methods. You study the new terrain. The world forgets quickly. The news cycle moves on. Your enemies grow lazy in your absence. This period of dormancy is not death. It is gestation. It is where the next grand intention is born, protected by the ultimate secrecy of non-existence. When you return, you will have a new face, a new name, and a new strategy that no one can predict because no one saw it coming. This cycle of concealment, execution, crisis, and rebirth is the heartbeat of the Machiavellian life. It is a recognition that power is not a static object to be held, but a dynamic fluid to be managed. It requires a mind that is constantly vigilant, constantly calculating, and yet, paradoxically, deeply calm. It requires the acceptance that you are alone in your understanding of the game. Most people are playing checkers, following the rules, moving openly, hoping for fairness. You are playing three-dimensional chess in the dark. Ultimately, the art of concealing intentions teaches us a profound lesson about the nature of truth. Truth is not a gem to be displayed. It is a weapon to be sheathed. It is valuable precisely because it is rare. By hoarding your truth, by sharing it only with the chosen few at the chosen moment, you imbue it with immense power. A word spoken by a silent man lands like a thunderclap. A plan revealed by a hidden man strikes like a lightning bolt. In a world of noise, silence is the only frequency that commands absolute attention. As we look to the future, the tools of concealment will evolve. Deepfakes, AI-driven surveillance, and biometric tracking will make the shadows harder to find. But the principles remains eternal. The human mind will always have blind spots. Ego will always be a vulnerability. Envy will always be a trap. As long as human nature remains unchanged, the dark arts of strategy will remain effective. The technology changes, but the psychology is ancient. The predator does not need new claws. It only needs to know where the prey is looking, and then move where they are not. We arrive now at the zenith of this discipline, a state of being that transcends mere technique and enters the realm of philosophy. The state of the ghost. To be a ghost is not to be dead. It is to be purely operational, stripped of the drag of identity and the friction of ego. In this state, concealing intentions is no longer an effort. It is a nature. The ghost moves through organizations, social circles, and markets without displacing the water. It leaves no wake. It triggers no alarms. It is the ultimate expression of the gray man theory applied to power dynamics. The ghost does not seek credit. It seeks results. It does not seek fame. It seeks influence. It understands that fame is a target painted on one's back, while influence is the hand that holds the bow. In this state, one achieves strategic ubiquity. Because you are nowhere specific, you are everywhere. Because you have no public dogma, you can infiltrate any ideology. You can sit at the table with the capitalists and speak their language of profit, then walk across the street and sit with the revolutionaries, speaking their language of disruption. Neither side suspects you because you reflect their own values back at them perfectly. You are the universal adapter in the socket of society. This allows you to connect disparate worlds, to act as the broker of information between warring factions, profiting from the arbitrage of secrets. You become the indispensable node in the network, the one person who knows everyone, but whom no one truly knows. The ghost also masters the architecture of choice. Instead of forcing people to do your bidding, you design the environment so that their only logical choice is the one you desire. You conceal the coercion within the context. If you want a sheep to go into a pen, you do not beat it. You build a fence that funnels it gently towards the gate. In the boardroom, this means framing the options in a presentation so that option A is risky, option B is expensive, and option C, your secret preference, is the only sensible path. The board votes for option C, congratulating themselves on their prudence, unaware that you built the maze that led them there. You have concealed your authorship of their decision. They feel free, yet they are bound by the geometry of your design. This requires a deep, almost clinical detachment from the human drama. You must view emotions, both yours and others, as data points, not imperatives. Love, hate, greed, fear. These are not feelings to be indulged, but levers to be pulled. When an opponent screams at you in anger, the ghost does not feel insulted. The ghost notes that the opponent has lost emotional control and is therefore vulnerable. When a friend flatters you, the ghost does not feel proud. The ghost notes that the friend wants something. This cold empathy, the ability to understand emotions perfectly without being infected by them, is the superpower of the dark psychologist. It allows you to navigate the storm of human irrationality without getting wet. Yet, there is a price for this existence. The solitude of the ghost is absolute. You can never truly be known, for to be known is to be vulnerable. You must carry the weight of your true intentions alone. There are no confessionals for the strategist. This is why many who attempt this path fail. They crack under the pressure of isolation. They yearn for the warmth of the herd. To succeed, you must find solace in the craft itself. You must find joy in the elegance of the move, the beauty of the silent victory. You must become an artist of the invisible. Your canvas is the mind of the other. Your paint is their perception. Your masterpiece is a reality that exists only because you willed it into being, yet looks entirely natural to the naked eye. As we conclude this exploration, understand that the art of concealing intentions is not a tool for the wicked nor the righteous. It is a tool for the effective. It is for those who have realized that the world is not a nursery, but a wilderness. In the wilderness, the loud are eaten, the colorful are eaten, the slow are eaten. Only the silent, the camouflaged, and the observant survive to shape the future. The ultimate concealment is to appear so ordinary that no one looks twice. It is to be the person standing in the background of the photo, the name in the middle of the list, the face in the crowd that leaves no impression. And yet, when the history of the event is written, it was that invisible figure who moved the pieces, who tipped the scales, who defined the outcome. Do not seek to be the king who sits on the throne, visible to all assassins. Seek to be the wind that blows through the throne room, felt by all, seen by none, and capable of extinguishing the candles or fanning the flames at will. This is the end of the lesson, but the beginning of the practice. The book closes, but the eyes open, the mouth shuts, the mind engages. The game begins now, in silence.